The story that I'm about to tell you stretches back 4 years. There's a PhD involved. There's 500 people I'm looking for. Like, that's when you know I'm serious. I do this, like, to squint. There's a ton of books involved. And right out of the gate, I throw up from playing Frisbee. Who does that? Frisbee, it's for hippies. But apparently I do. But I think at the end of this story, you're going to love it. And you're going to say, I'm in. Now, if I was going to title this story, the title would be The Best Feeling in the World. And because I'm generous, I'm not even going to bury the lead. Like, don't you hate videos where they say something like, the best feeling, and then you have to wait till like minute 19? I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, what's the best feeling in the world? Finishing a goal. It is. It's the best feeling in the world. I'll give you an example. I remember the first time I played Ultimate Frisbee when I was in college. My roommate, Stu. Now, people who are named Stu have at least a 78% chance of being amazing at Frisbee. My roommate Stu was like, hey, do you want to come play Ultimate Frisbee? And I had never played before, but I owned a Frisbee, so I was like, how hard can that be? The answer is very hard. That sentence, how hard can that be, has gotten me into so many adventures. But it's hard. You're constantly running. If you've never played, you sprint down the entire length of a football field. Somebody drops a Frisbee, you sprint all the way back. Like, it's exhausting. And it was a cold, muddy February day in Birmingham. And Stu's team was in Buda, which is the Birmingham Ultimate Disc Association. Do you see what they did there? It's a bit of a play on words. And I was terrible. I didn't score at all. I didn't throw well. I fell more than I ran. And at one point, I had to go to the sideline to throw up from Frisbee. I was so out of shape that Frisbee made me throw up. Stu was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, so many things. But I had the biggest smile on my face as we drove away in Stu's beat-up Oldsmobile with the blue interior and radio that only played Radio Disney. And the reason why is because I accomplished my goal. I had a goal. I wanted to play Ultimate Frisbee, and I did it. I was exhausted but elated. That's my favorite feeling, to be exhausted but elated. It's how I felt when I finished my goal to run 1,000 miles in a year in 2019. It took me until December 18th. I still remember exactly where I was. I was right down the street from my house. It was a Wednesday, and I was cutting through this school area in this neighborhood. And when I crossed the 1,000th mark, because I had a Strava app, I shouted out loud. I was so excited. No one else was there. It was just me. Now, it's not just physical goals that feel amazing. Like, finishing any goal feels that way. I've written 7 books, and the best feeling in the entire world is when you finally get to hold your book in your hands. Like, not the printed manuscript, not a mock-up of the cover. Those are great too. I'm talking about like the moment UPS drops off a book on your porch. You track that like a crazy person, and you rip into it when it finally gets there, and you hold it, and this thing took you years to create. I've only had that moment in my life 7 times. Is that crazy to think about? 44 years on the planet, I've had that moment 7 times. But let me tell you, it's worth it. All the early mornings, all the late nights, the tsunami of creative doubt and insecurity of putting your stuff out there, like, it's worth it. So 4 years ago, I got really curious. Why don't more people finish goals? If it's an amazing feeling, why don't more people do it? So I started to study it. According to a University of Scranton study, shout out to the office, 92% of all New Year's resolutions fail. 92%. That's a really crazy statistic. So I commissioned a research study with Mike Peasley, PhD. He's an assistant professor at MTSU. And we studied nearly 900 people for 6 months as they worked on goals. Writing goals, health goals, financial goals, corporate goals, declutter the garage goals, declutter the attic goals, sales goals, all these types of goals. This was 4 years ago that we did this research. And my goal was to answer the question, can you transform from being a chronic starter into a consistent finisher? Can you change? Or are some people born finishers and some aren't? And I have some good news. You can. You 100% can. There are some specific, counterintuitive, surprisingly fun things you can do to finish your goals. There are. And I've taught them to tens of thousands of people around the world. Now I know what you're saying, around the world. Oh, this is a YouTube video, it's exaggerated. Around the world, what does that mean? Like parts of Canada, mostly Canada? Sure, definitely Canada, but also, whoop, let me grab them. Russia. This is the Russian edition of Finnish. Like, look at the little lobster. He's on a mountain and he's singing. That's an idiom for them. This is the Spanish. edition. Termina. This is the Japanese edition. This is the German edition. When I say that finishing a goal is the best feeling in the world, I mean it because I've worked with people around the world on that feeling to experience it. Now, I have a new mission. I want to find 500 finishers. Not 1 million, not 100,000, not 10,000. I want to find 500. I think there are 500 people out there with a goal that they want to finish in 2021. And when they take my new finish course, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to finish their goal. How do I know? Because finishers like you send me the most amazing mail. My favorite shelf in my office, you can see I've got a bunch of Legos right here. I've got a shelf full of books that people just like you sent me. They read one of my books, they went through a course, they watched the video, and they said, hey, I finally finished my book, and they mailed me the book. I love that. I have stacks of graduation invitations. Invitations to graduations because people connected with my content and then finished their degree. You did that. You got a graduate degree, you got a PhD, you got an MBA, and then you invited me to your graduation. That's amazing. You sent me photos of your weight loss plan, your marathon running, your cleaned out attic, your sales numbers for that business you finally started. I love that. You've allowed me to celebrate thousands of wins with you over the last decade. And in many ways, I think we're just getting started. That's true. We're just getting started. The new finish course is here, and it's designed to teach you the skills that you need to see your goals through from kind of conception all the way to completion. And it's being offered right now at the lowest price it'll ever be. Right now, lowest price. Inside the course, here's what you'll find. You'll have immediate access to 6 session videos, like 6 different videos that I've prepared to say, okay, here's how you actually finish. A super practical workbook and 1 month of coach texting from me. I can't wait to text you. Now be advised, you know some of them are gonna be ridiculous. Like there's gotta be some fun in that text coaching. You'll also have the option to upgrade your course to join me for 3 virtual group coaching calls or even a one-on-one meeting with me. If you do that, just buckle up because those sessions are going to be a fire hose of content, a ton of content, because I love coaching. I went to a performance coach last week and it was so helpful. I want you to be part of the 8% that keeps your New Year's resolutions. If 92% fail, do you know what happens when you succeed, when you finish? You become rare, you become valuable, you become successful. You get to experience the best feeling in the world of finishing a goal. And once you do, you'll never go back to the land of almost again. 1 goal will become 2 goals, will become 3 goals. That's what's going to happen. You'll look up sometime in 2021 and realize, wait a second, I'm not a chronic starter. I'm a consistent finisher. I finish. I'm a finisher. That's what I'm looking for. 500 finishers. That's it. 500 finishers. If that's you, if you're ready to be one, if you're even a little bit curious, go check out finishcourse.com. You can check out the link in my description. Just watch the trailer. Just watch. There's a 2-minute trailer. Watch the trailer. That's all I'm asking. Go check it out. I believe that you can finish, and I believe that when you do, you're going to agree with me that it's the best feeling in the entire world. "92% of all New Year's resolutions fail." 92%. Why do so many people fail at their New Year's resolutions? Why do so many companies have a hard time finishing their goals? Why do so many teams fail their goals? And I think part of the reason is we celebrate the wrong part of a goal. We say things like, well begun is half done. The hardest part of any journey is the first step. And that feels so good on a coffee cup or maybe a photo of a unicorn with a swirly font. That's not even a little true. The middle is the hardest part. We have launch parties, we have kickoff parties. I've never been to a middle party. Where do people cheer at marathons? At the beginning and at the finish line. The middle is hard and lonely. And so we start all these projects and then we stop them. And it has a cost. You remember incomplete goals more than you remember completed ones. The goals you don't finish don't disappear. They become these ghosts that haunt you. And see, here's the problem. A goal isn't just a goal. A goal is a promise. It's a promise you make to your team. It's a promise you make to your coworkers. It's a promise you make to your family. And ultimately, it's a promise you make to yourself. And every time you break one, it becomes harder to keep the next one. So I wanted to answer a question. Can you go from being a chronic starter to a consistent finisher? Are there steps? Are there principles? Are there things you and I can do to make sure we actually finish the things that matter in our lives? But I wanted to make sure that I had real research behind the answer. So I went to the University of Memphis and I commissioned a research study with a PhD there named Mike Peasley so that we could answer that question. What does it really take to become a finisher? Can somebody who's really good at starting but not good at finishing actually learn? And that's what we're going to talk about in this 6-part series. We're going to walk through step by step what it takes for you and your team to get across that finish line.